Okay, the Fife property market. Are we actually heading for a crash? Don't panic, Captain Mannering says. No, we're not. So just to let everybody understand, we're not heading for a crash. Don't panic. Don't panic. Like my new screen behind me today. It's different. I'm in a different studio today. Okay, listen, as a practicing sales and letting agent based in Fife, we like to monitor the Fife property market, compare it to the UK property market, and then share it with Fife homeowners and landlords.
Yep.
In February 2024, the UK property market has seen a continuation of a solid start in the first month of the year of January. Therefore, in this show, we want to see if there's any national trends or national trends that mirrors or differs from the local market in Fife itself. In the first 9 weeks of 2024, for example, up to the 3rd of March, that is. The UK property market recorded 200,823 properties and homes sold subject to contract. This figure is 11.5% higher than the first 9 weeks of 2023, where there were only 180,748 properties actually sold subject to concluded missives as well. Okay. That's quite interesting, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And it gets even more interesting when you compare it with the two other timeframes. So, I mean, like you say, obviously, we're looking at the trends between the local market and the UK. And firstly, the average for 2017, 2018, 2019, combined with the first 9 weeks, is 185,192 properties. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, for the first 9 weeks in 2020, we were then experiencing the Boris bounce, and the number of house sales were 206,000.
But that guy's still with us.
I know. 206,956, which is only 2% more than this year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's quite.
What does that mean, and what does that mean for national house prices then? What about that national house prices?
So yeah, let's look at national house prices then. So the average price of the property sold subject to conclusion of the contract in the first 9 weeks of 2023 was £343,690, with an average of £325 per square foot. Okay, so that was in the first 9 weeks.
That's a big average compared to Fife. I know that because just off the top of my head, I'm thinking to myself, 10 times that's 3,200. Almost 3,200 per square meter. That's actually quite a high margin. So it'll be interesting to see what Fife's like as well. What else have we got then?
So, and then if you look in 2024, the average sale price, now remember this is national house prices, the average sale price agreed was almost identical at £348,414. Yet the average pound per square foot was slightly higher at 335 per square foot. So that's an extra £10 per square foot in 2024.
Okay. That suggests that prices are actually going up.
Yeah, and that would say, obviously, I mean, such a surge in the property market demands a deeper analysis to really understand the underlying factors and what they might mean for local markets, such as Fife. And that's what we like to do, is obviously look at the UK and the entire market on a national scale and then look at it in comparison to our own area, which is Fife.
Okay, that's interesting because I'm looking back at these numbers and the analytics, and they were saying 3% more than 2020. Well, 2020 was 3% more, I think. Yeah, that's right. 2020 was 3% more than what we've got this year in the first 9 weeks. But interestingly enough, the difference between the 335 and 325 from 2023 to 2024 is actually a 3% increase. So the value of the prices have actually gone up by 3% overall, right across the whole board for the UK national house prices in the first 9 weeks of 2024 in comparison to the first 9 weeks of 2023. And yet we're told a different story, aren't we, in the media? Like
We are fed a different story.
yeah, I mean,
So for you, Jim, what are the key reasons that the UK property market is doing so well?
well, there's no doubt about it. The first one for me is the decrease in mortgage rates, for example. You know, a key driver of the heightened activity within the property market industry really is the drop in mortgage rates. Even though base rates sitting at 5.25 now, the average mortgage rate is well below that in comparison, because the interbank swap rates are obviously a lot less between banks for lending with each other and the money market itself. Therefore, the banks can afford to carry that on. But a sneaky wee one the banks are doing to keep the mortgage rates lower, what they're doing is they're making the arrangement fees higher.
Yeah.
So, for example, a classic example about how to put 1% extra on your mortgage for the first 5 years is you just produce a mortgage at 4.5% and then say to everybody, but there's a 5% arrangement fee for the first 5 years. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Well, that's 5.5 really that you're actually charging me. That's why you're seeing arrangement fees that are actually quite high, £3,000, maybe 3%. And that's the reason why. So that it's a bit of smoke and mirrors a bit, but it's also.
I was just going to say, a lot of people won't understand that, and they'll think, "Oh, that's a good deal," but then they're not really taking into consideration they've got a higher initial fee.
Yeah, the arrangement fee is what does it. And then they're obviously counting as well when they've got a high exit fee in terms of the redemption in the first 5 years, because they go from 5% to 4% to 3%, 2%, 1% year by year. You know, with the latter or the lowest being the later in the years going by of that mortgage product. But then the mortgage will go for 25, 30 years anyway, but it's the first 5 years that are actually fixed as the result of it. First 2 years, first 3 years, or whatever it is. But they're hoping, and they know by track record, that ideally what's going to be happening is a lot of people are actually just redeeming their mortgage. Well, some people, not a lot. And a lot's a bit embellishing it. Some people will redeem their mortgage early as a result, and therefore they're going to get a good exit fee as well. So there's another percentage on top of it. Because if you're redeeming the first of the fifth years, kind of the first year going, then you're paying 5% back on a 5-year fixed rate mortgage. Therefore, guess what? They're getting another bite of the cherry. So they get an arrangement fee up the front, and they're getting the exit fee as well.
At the end, yeah.
So see how, even though it's quite deceptive how interest rates are so low in comparison to let somebody get on the ladder, but the reality is they're actually just adding it. They're front loading it. That's what they're doing. So you're not actually paying it month by month. They're just adding it onto the loan. So when you start to exit, you'll have to pay that arrangement fee you agreed at the beginning, and then you have to pay your redemption fee as well if you exit within that time period going. So the change has made property ownership more accessible to a broader population and also increasing property sales overall. Hence the reason why from 2023 to now 2024, the number of property transactions is up 11.5% higher than last year at this time. Up to
There's no doubt that has increased property sales. Obviously, if the changes in mortgage rates are ultimately going to do that,
So let's talk about increase in salaries then.
Okay.
This increase in salaries is quite an interesting one, because increase in salaries, there was data out yesterday which suggested that increase in salaries is still going year on year. I think it's just about 6% or thereabouts. And unemployment figures are now out to the end of December, and they moved up 0.1%. The media, it's almost like they're panicking the way they write it, the article, but literally it's gone from 3.8 to 3.9. Oh my God. It's like I just see the Home Alone. Can Macaulay Culkin run through the top landing? Oh my God, the world's collapsing. It's like, no.
But then that still leaves us in a really good employment
Of course it does. Well, full employment, as I said before, in economic terms, is determined between 4 and 6% in economic terms if you read the books, and we're sitting at 3.9. We're even better than what full employment in the book, and by chances. So we've got a full employment economy in technical terms. We have got mobility of labour as well. They've got 20% of people, I think, are choose not to work. Now, it's not we're subsidising them; they just choose not to work. So 20% adult population choose not to work and have a job, and that's fair enough. Usually, people stay at home and all the rest of it, and don't look after the children and everything like that. So that's the people that don't want to work because they've got other priorities to look after. So that is a skill force we could actually get back into the labour market, which would actually stabilise the rising costs of salaries as a result of that, by bringing in a bit more supply. So we've got to work out a way in how to bring these people back in the fold. Plus the fact is, in terms of UK economic activity, in terms of taxation receipts, when you think about if we bring all these people back into it, how much more tax is going to be generated as a result of that? So that's going to be able to pay off debt better. That will make our economy in a better position and actually give it a better standing in terms of the debt ratio to GDP, which is, I think, is sitting in the 90s or something like that. But don't take heart in that. There's some countries in the EU sitting at 125% or thereabouts. So these are all the things that you've got to concern about. So increasing salaries is definitely one that's actually why the UK property market is doing so well. The escalation of the average earnings has been pivotal to with increased income, and people are more likely to invest in property, which is considered a stable and profitable investment. How do you know that, Jim?
How do you know that, Jim?
How do I know that, Jim? Well, I've just bought another 30 2 weeks ago, another 30 properties, because I'm no daft. I know exactly how to do this and how to invest in property. I've been doing it for 30 years, and you've been doing it. You've been getting involved in this for about 14 years now, Richard, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so the other one driving it as well, quite interestingly, is exactly where you are, Richard, is about the increase in rents. Do you want to talk about that a wee bit?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, increase in rents. I mean, the average rent in the last 2 years in the UK has gone from 1,000, well, I was going to say about 1,500, but it's £1,405 to be precise, per calendar month, up to 1,797, about 1,800 per calendar month, making it cheaper to buy as opposed to rent in many occasions. So that's something that has an influence on that as well.
Average rent in the last 2 years then has gone up 28%, according to this.
Yeah.
I mean, there is different factors. When you think about it, right? People go on about the average rent's going up drastically, and they've gone up 28%. But literally, that's like property prices as well.
Yeah, of course.
Property prices have gone up, and rents have followed later on, which is a normal paradigm to happen in any situation. It's always happened over all the years. There's never a time where rents haven't lagged, but actually gone up as well, because property prices have gone up, and then return on investment has to be higher in order to make it worthwhile for landlords to get into the market and buy a property and actually rent it to get a proper return. Hence the reason why rents will move up as a natural result. So if you've bought your property from several years ago, you're getting that upswing, everybody coming into the market new. So the greatest thing for you is to buy early on. Now, if you've missed the boat, don't worry, you've not really missed the boat, because there's always another one every single day. Every single day you're about to make a decision, you can get on your own boat on the property ladder and actually, in terms of property investment, and actually sail away into the sunset.
No, you're just really joining on the cycle at a different point.
Of course you are. Of course you are. It's like anything. If you're invested in the Standard and Poor's index, and the 500 in America, that's a constant evolving index, which is the top 500 best performing companies in America every single time. So some fall in, some fall out, and some get added in. So you follow that and track that all the time, and you invest in that index, then you're always going to be a winner. And it's kind of the same with property. If you get the numbers right and you understand the dynamics of it, which we do.
Yeah. And when I reference, obviously, the change in rental figures there, that obviously is that's the UK average. So obviously it will differ slightly from area, and obviously Fife in itself as well. And even the areas within Fife as well, it differs as you break it down. But UK as a whole is those rental figures that are referenced there at the 1,400 and then just shy the 1,800 now.
Yeah. Now, I touched on the low unemployment figures. And I've got to say it's a robust employment market coupled with low employment figures that has boosted confidence among individuals, and prompting them to undertake significant life choices like purchasing a house, for example. Other influences I actually think has made a difference into last year in 2023 and 2024 being a lot more property sales actually getting generated. A shift in demographic trends, I think. Changes in house preferences have made a difference following the pandemic, and government policies that might have encouraged the buying of properties. stamp duty, land and building transaction tax, stuff like that as well. Local authorities obviously got more budgets now in order to buy some of the ex-local authority houses back from the sales market. That's obviously adding to that as well and allowing people to upgrade. There's no doubt about that. There's a huge homelessness problem in Scotland, for example, if not the whole of the UK. But Scotland's still presiding over the highest homelessness rate in history, and ever records are produced. So there's no doubt about it. And when you look at 2021's figures of 400,000 properties in the private rented sector, and then look at 2022's figures at 340,000 properties in the private rented sector, there's 60,000 properties just left the private rented sector from 2021 to 2022. And that's 15% of that market gone just like that. Where are these people going to stay? They're not all able to buy.
No, and they're totally displaced then, and that's where we have this issue. It's interesting when you see about obviously other factors and referencing the pandemic, and I see this in the rental market and it's in the sales as well. The pandemic and then onto the cost of living did make people's preferences and what kind of property they look for change. Pandemic influenced people. They were looking for 2 and 3 bedroom houses with that extra bedroom for studying or a garden or whatever. And then as that progressed into the cost of living, people then started to revert back to flats and apartments because they were more cost effective to run in terms of council tax and utilities and things as well. And I've seen that trend in people looking for properties to rent, and it's the same in the sales market as well.
Definitely. So let's have a wee look at and compare this against the Fife property market.
Yes.
And we'll turn our attention to Fife, understanding that the local markets can behave differently from national trends, and it is vital anyway. And I demonstrated that yesterday when I did an update on the property market in general, just in a prelude to this. So Fife is really everything that's got a KY in the postcode. That's ultimately it in a nutshell. Everything that's got a KY in the postcode is Fife, as well as I think DD6. Which is Newport-on-Tay and Wormit and stuff like that.
Just
although it seems to be under the Dundee postcode area, it is actually officially still part of Fife itself. So, so what about the first 9 weeks of 2023, Richard, in the Fife area? What was that like?
So let's look at the first 9 weeks in the Fife area, and there was 471 sales agreed, subject to obviously sold subject to contract. So, and in comparison to the first 9 weeks of 2024, there was 482 sales agreed in Fife. So slight difference there from 471 to 482. So that's a slight increase of, that's 2.3% of Fife home sales, and that's year to date, from 2023.
Just to let everybody understand tuning in, that's not a 2.3% increase in price. That's a 2.3% increase in the number of transactions. In other words, the number of property sales year on year for the first 9 weeks of 2023 versus the first 9 weeks of 2024. So do you have any stats for, across the rest of Fife and the micro-region areas, like, for example, East Neuk and St Andrews and that?
Yeah, of course. And as we said earlier, we look at the UK as a whole, then Fife, and then break Fife down even further. And you see, Jim, obviously Fife's made up of the KYs and obviously the DD, but we'll leave the DD out. And just concentrate on the KYs. Now we'll look at Leave and Mouth, which is everything KY8, and the Leave and Mouth area in 2023 there was 44 sales agreed, and then that's in comparison to the first 9 weeks in 2024 where there was 41 sales agreed. So that's a slight decrease, a slight decrease in sales of 6.8% in the Leave and Mouth area, and that's sales. Year to date, not price, as you say.
So Leave and Mouth number of transactional sales is down. We'll come back to that. What about the rest of them then?
So Glenrothes, which is KY6, KY7, first 9 weeks 2023 was 53 sales. In comparison to first 9 weeks 2024 was 52 sales. So that's again a decrease of 1.9% in the Glenrothes area.
Yep.
Let's go, we'll do Cooper next, which is KY14, KY15 areas. And the first 9 weeks of 2023 for Cooper, there was 37 sales agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in comparison to the 9 weeks in 2024, the first 9 weeks of 36 sales. So that's a slight decrease of 2.7% for the Cooper sales.
Okay.
And then we have East Nuke here. So East Nuke's KY 10. And the first 9 weeks in 2023, there was 20 sales agreed.
Yep.
And in comparison to the first 9 weeks of this year, 2024, there was 19 sales agreed.
Okay.
So a very small decrease of 5% in the East Nuke area. And then finally, we'll do St Andrews. And St Andrews falls under KY 16. First 9 weeks of 2023, 32 sales agreed. In comparison to the first 9 weeks of 2024, there was 22 sales agreed. So that's a decrease of 31.2%, which is quite a big drop of sales year to date.
So with the assumption then, the main increase is Kirkcaldy and Dunfermline and the number of transactional sales, because then that offsets the decrease in Leavenmouth, Glenorthus, Cooper, East Nuke and St Andrews.
Yeah.
But remember, so transactional numbers, so it's kind of lower than the national picture, I suppose, yet it's still very earlier on in the year. So things could actually change. Before
we're still in the early stages of the year, so things can't change.
So let me just think about what's driving this. My assumption or my opinion and what's driving this is really down to, I think it's still nervousness in Fife. But remember, Fife's actually done a lot better in terms of price increases since the beginning. Fife has fared a lot better than Scotland itself. So Scotland, the average price increase, I think I'd done it over 2021 to 2024, well, December 2023. And I looked at the other day. Have I got something lying about? It showed me. Where is it? It was, here we go. Yeah, okay. So let's see. I do all these things, just all these things I look at. So actually, in Scotland, in Scotland, it was up up from December 2020 to December 2023. The average price in Scotland went from 162,000 to 190,000, which represented a 16.8% increase. Yet the average price in Fife went from 144,000 to 173,000, which represented a 19.7% increase in price. So Fife has actually moved up about 3%, 3 percentage points more than the Scotland itself in terms of price increase over the last 3-4 years. So this tells me that then when you think about affordability and the fact that salaries, if they're all increasing at the same, and I don't think it's any different across the board to Fife as it is in the Scottish market and in the UK market as well. I think the average salary is round about the 6% anyway. So when you look at that and look at saying Scotland's gone up less, then people in Scotland will find it more affordable then because it's gone up less, where people in Fife has gone up more, so they will find it less affordable, hence the reason why there's a slight decrease in transactional numbers.
The actual transactional sales,
Yeah, I would say so. And we possibly did a lot more transactional numbers in the last 2 or 3 years on average than Scotland itself, proportionately.
Yeah.
And I think that's now leveled off, and people in Fife are actually going, okay, let's take stock in where we are right now. But then when you look at new build for, look at Kirkcaldy and look at Dunfermline, who's actually increased. There's no surprise Dunfermline's increased because Dunfermline's a good location, a second location in comparison to living in Edinburgh itself, because you're just over the water. So it's easy in the west coast of Fife and have easy access into Edinburgh if you really need to as a result of that.
Dunfermline's positioned very well. You've got the A92, the M90, you're right across the bridge into Edinburgh in no time. So yeah, that's quite well positioned.
Can we drill in then what's happened in the first 9 weeks of the year in the Fife property market in 2024 compared to 2023? And I'm talking about the price per square foot now. So if we look at these prices and look at the price per square foot and compare that to the UK average and see if there's a stark difference. I've got a funny feeling there is, because as I said before, the UK average brought out about £3,500 per square foot sorry, per square meter. And I'm thinking, God, that's rich. That's rich, and definitely. So I know what Fife is roughly, but let's look at the exact numbers.
Okay, so the average price of a property agreed on a sale, so that's i.e. it's sold, in the first 9 weeks of 2023 in Fife, was £188,954. Okay, with an average of £183 per square foot.
It's a huge difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that then comes about to £1,800 per square metre, which sounds about right, actually. £1,800 to £2,000 per square metre on average.
So then if we look at this year, so 2024, the average sale agreed price on properties which were sold in the first 9 weeks was £203,118. And then that was with an average of £189 per square foot.
3.2% increase.
3.2.
Yeah, and in terms of the price per square foot, 3.2%. That just so happens to fall straight in line with the Scottish Land Registry in terms of what their numbers are as well. So when you drill down into December figures, like I did the other day, and you actually see where it is year on year, then they're absolutely right. It actually matches the Land Registry data, which is 3.2% increase in the last year in Fife. Again, another thing that nobody really talks about, is it? Everybody talks about UK and they talk about how prices haven't moved and all the rest of it, but no, they're still going up in Fife.
Yeah, I've got broken down for the areas within Fife. If you want to go through that?
Oh, that'll be interesting. I tell you what, East Newton St Andrews is going to be a bit more hefty, isn't it? Let's get the numbers. I mean, I think that is going to be the case, but let's see how hefty it is.
Okay, I'll do it in the same order as I've done before. So we'll start with Leavenmouth area, which is the K1As. So the average price for property sales agreed in the first 9 weeks of 2023 for Leaven, or Leavenmouth area, was £168,102. That's an average of £159 per square foot. That's 2023. This year, 2024, the first 9 weeks for sale agreed prices was £140,099, £140,099, and that was an average of £148 per square foot.
Oh, less then.
Yeah, that's went down slightly.
And that's surprising. But then remember, that might be just smaller transactional numbers when we look at it, because remember, it's Leavenmouth. It's the first 9 weeks. It's not the whole. It's not the whole term.
Yeah, it's all the first 9 weeks.
Which will probably start to catch up when we get more data in. But that's interesting. So what about East Neuk next?
So East Neuk, the first 9 weeks of 2023, agreed sales were £295,385 with an average of £273 per square foot. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. That's about right. That's £2,730 per square metre.
And the first 9 weeks of this year, the agreed price was £294,154, and that was an average of £276 per square foot.
Yeah, so slightly higher. So East Neuk's gone up just a proportional amount, which is literally a small percentage. Which is 1%.
Yeah.
So 1% East Neuk prices have gone up. What about St Andrews and Glenrothes and Cooper?
Right. Okay. I'll go on to St Andrews next. I thought that's the one you'd want to go next. So first 9 weeks of 2023 for St Andrews was £389,831. Now that's an average of £342 per square foot. Okay. The first 9 weeks of 2024, £376,863, and that's an average of £329 per square foot. So that's come down. Yep.
But it's no major trend. It's come down a wee bit, but then that could be a lot to do with the mix in the first 9 weeks. That's all. So it could be the fact that, but remember, St Andrews is a higher price point as well. So there's no surprise. If you look right broadly across the Fife property market, how property prices have gone up 3.2% in the last year, when you look at a place in isolation like the micro-region of St Andrews, then you drill it down, probably they're on the other side of that average.
Yeah.
So they're possibly less as a natural result of that. Because you can't all be in the middle. So to have an average, you've got 50% one side, 50% the other side. So it's no surprise. This would then lead me to believe that Cooper would be the other side as well as St Andrews, the same side. It's probably going down year on year.
Well, Cooper, and the first 9 weeks of 2023, agreed sales were 181,559, and that averaged at £186 per square foot. In the first 9 weeks of this year, 2024, agreed prices on
How much per square foot? For Cooper in the first
186 for the first 9 weeks of 2023. First 9 weeks of this year, the agreed price on property sold was £236,112. Now that's an average of £202 per square foot. So that's
Come on, Cooper's going up then.
Yeah.
Well, someone's got to be the other side. Is that the case that maybe people are seeing it more affordable to live in Cooper and just commute into St Andrews?
Yeah, because I mean the very, very short distance to commute from Cooper to St Andrews and the difference in price is obviously a factor.
Like night and day. It's like night and day, the difference between St Andrews and Cooper in terms of price point for the same square footage. Because you can see it there. You're sitting saying to me 329 per square feet, which is 3,290 per square metre. And then Cooper's 2,020 per square metre. So there's literally a 50% difference from Cooper to St Andrews. 50% difference. I would be living in Cooper every day.
Yeah,
for that reason.
I think a lot of people a lot of people's in that mindset. Yeah,
and that would make absolute sense. What about Glenrothes is the final one?
Yeah, Glenrothes final area. So the first 9 weeks of 2023, property agreed sales were at £144,035, and that averages out at £149 per square foot. First 9 weeks of this year, 2024, agreed prices on property sold was £160,928, and that averages out at £157 per square foot.
So St Andrews has gone up a bit as well. So St Andrews has gone up basically 8 divided by 149, 5%. So no, St Andrews, Glenrothes, no St Andrews. St Andrews has gone up 5%. It's like, whoa, 5% is a lot for St Andrews, because that's about £15,000-20,000 on average price. So Glenrothes has gone up 5% year on year in terms of the prices locally on the first 9 weeks compared to the last 9 weeks of 2023 in the same period. So again, it's quite interesting to see. But when you look at Leavenmouth was a good one. Leavenmouth was always looked at as a poor relation in comparison to Glenrothes. But yet Glenrothes is almost more affordable than Leavenmouth. But then if you look at transactional numbers as well, when you look at Leavenmouth and compare the population of Leavenmouth to the population of Glenrothes, proportionately, you should expect more transactional numbers to appear in Glenrothes for sale year on year. So have you got, when you go back to your original numbers for Glenrothes, where were we with the numbers for Glenrothes? I'm just quite interested to see the 2024 number for Glenrothes for the transactional number the first 9 weeks.
The first 9 weeks of 2024 for Glenrothes, there was 52 sales agreed.
What about Leaven?
And in Leavenmouth, for the first 9 weeks of 2024, we were at 41 sales.
And again, it's almost like for like, and yet there's a bigger population in Glenrothes than there is in Leavenmouth.
Yeah,
it's bizarre. It's bizarre. I don't. It's almost like Leaven. The people of Leavenmouth actually turn over properties a lot more, and they sell properties a lot more. Or is it the case that possibly? I've not really looked into this, and I don't see the point of doing it. But my assumption could be that Glenrothes has maybe got a lot more ex-local authority property, like in terms of social housing.
Right. Okay. And a lot more.
So therefore, even though they've got a lot more head of population, they've got a lot more properties in the Glenrothes area than Leavenmouth. Then when you look at the reality is, if a lot more of these properties are actually social housing, they'll never ever sell, because they'll never sell them. So that might account for the fact that Glenrothes has low transactional numbers in comparison to Leavenmouth.
because a
proportionally.
lot of them are still held as local authority. Yeah.
So with that in mind, then what is actually the future of the Fife property market then?
I think, well, moving forward, the UK property scene in 2024 holds considerable promise. I mean, we're still in like these early stages. Yet for property owners and landlords in Fife, it's vital to grasp the intrinsics of the local market, like we've just kind of broken it down there. The focus should be more on than just the national movements. You should really look at it and bring it right down like we do on these shows often, but also how these trends meld with the local and regional dynamics. Do you know what I mean? So everybody talks about obviously the UK and the national figures, but I think you really need to break it down for your own like immediate area, and even, not even just Fife. Like we've just broken it down there, St Andrews, Leven, Mouth. Do you know? And it's really important to do that.
Do you know that kind of makes me think about. You're absolutely right, and this is why I say to a lot of people, don't stop listening to the news, because the news does a generalisation, and sometimes when the news talks about things, they talk about the UK, but it's really just England they're talking about.
Yeah.
So when they talk about UK property prices, you end up drilling it down. They come up with a map of England, and it's like, well, that's no the UK. And we're always going to have this, and the reason we're always going to have this is because housing legislation in Scotland is completely different from housing legislation in England, because they're devolved. The legislation is devolved. It's not one piece of legislation for the whole UK countries, because we're made up of 4 countries: Northern Ireland, Wales, England, and Scotland, and Fife. So we've got a 5th one.
Yes.
Or is independence for Fife no allowed? Anyway, apart from that, so you're right about regional dynamics, and I would urge actually all Fife stakeholders to seek advice on tailoring their needs, knowing the present market value of the property and the strategies for I think manoeuvring through 2024 the market. It could be crucial and for well-informed decision making, despite a solid kickoff for 2024 in the UK property sector. Diving deep into the specifics of the Fife property market is essential to identifying both opportunities and potential hurdles coming up. And that's that special advice that we tend to offer for Fife homeowners and also landlords as well, to align with our distinctive market conditions. Whether people are homeowners or for sale or landlords, and considering expanding their downsizing their portfolio, it's a deep understanding of the Fife property market's landscape is crucial to strategic planning overall. What's kind of your final words on this then?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's essential to recognise that the Fife property market it's ever evolving, as we demonstrate often, and the national trends may also sometimes directly reflect the local realities. As we progress through 2024, keeping abreast of market changes and adapting accordingly will be vital for anyone's successful property deal, and create lots of content about the Fife property market like we do is quite important for the local people in the market, just like what we're doing today. And that's where, if you like you say, Jim, you look at the news and they talk about it on a national or a UK scale, and something that doesn't even include Scotland, never mind Fife. So for us to do that and what we do today and break down the stats and look at the dynamics of the immediate area, and not just Fife, and within that is really important for people who are in the local area to have that knowledge.
Definitely, yeah, definitely interesting times ahead. It'll be interesting to see where the UK property prices and the Scottish property prices are in the next, I think it's this week. Just let me check and just see if I've got something coming out this week for this. I've got a funny feeling it's on the 14th. We get the release of the UK house prices.
That's tomorrow.
It might be, it might not. It could be next week. Yeah, it's possibly then. And then Zoopla will be out with their index as well, and also the rental indexes, which is quite important as well. So it'll be interesting to see that coming up. So thanks for coming on, Richard. Appreciate it, and giving your information and your insight into all these stats. Very interesting. hopefully everybody else will get something like that. And if you need to ask any questions, then please feel free to message us direct or stick something in the comments, and we will come back to you and interact with you. Until next time, guys, it's bye-bye from us, Fife Properties TV.
Thanks, guys.